Root is with us. Wayne was the Libertarian Vice Presidential Nominee in the 2008 presidential election for the Libertarian Party. He is also an author and radio talk show host. His website, Root for America, that's the digit 4.com. And Wayne, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Tom, great to be on with you again.
So what is it that the Republicans are campaigning on? I heard a bunch of platitudes last night, but I don't understand how somebody who's earning $20,000 to $50,000 a year is going to get anything from the Republicans putting back in place Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or cutting taxes on billionaires. I don't get it.
You know, you guys on the left are very funny, Tom, because if you want to attack Republicans, I think that's great, because I'm not a Republican. I'm a Libertarian, and I'd like to attack them, too, on a variety of social issues and on the fact that they spend too much and they've created too much debt, and they haven't gotten tax rates nearly as low as I'd like them to be. So I'd love to criticize Republicans, too. And if you want to criticize their personalities, I think they're the eight dwarfs. I think they're lousy candidates. They may not beat Obama because they have no personality and no guts, no balls, no chutzpah, as we say in New York. Mitt Romney can't stand up to Obama. Tim Pawlenty can't stand up to Obama. Michelle Bachmann can stand up to Obama, but some of her views are probably going to be too extreme for the American public. So those are all reasons to criticize Republicans, but to act as if wanting to lower taxes so all people get to keep more of their own money is a bad thing.
Well, nobody's really suggesting that, Wayne.
You guys on the left, and you don't realize it.
Nobody's really suggesting that. As Michelle Bachmann pointed out, 47% of Americans have an income that is so low that they don't pay any federal income taxes at all. Now, she wants to start having those people pay taxes. In other words, Michelle Bachmann wants to raise taxes on poor people, on that 47% of Americans, and she wants to cut, and this was Tim Pawlenty's program, too. Tim Pawlenty said he wants to cut taxes on millionaires by 42% and on billionaires by 46%. And Michelle Bachmann said she wants to cut it even more than that. She wants to do away altogether with the tax that most billionaires pay, which is capital gains tax, so they pay no income tax. You know, people like John Paulson makes his lot of money on Wall Street as dividends and interest income. No tax income, income tax. How does that help the person who's making $30,000 a year and hanging by their fingernails?
All you should be addressing is that Obama's program is the most massive failure in the history of economy. Our country's falling apart. The richest friends I have are all broke. People are going broke. Businesses are going
Wayne,
broke.
I'll give you 30 years of Reaganomics and 30 years of free trade policy and 30 years of Reaganomics have destroyed this country.
Oh, I see. So Cuba has done well with socialism, and Russia did well with the old Soviet Union with socialism, and China did well with socialism.
I am
so
not.
Well,
those were not.
Hong Kong is the freest country in the world now, Tom. Hong Kong is a 16% flat tax, no capital gains tax, plentiful jobs, wonderful economy. Singapore has a 2% business.
Wait a second.
Tax.
Let's just stay with Hong Kong for a minute.
And
Hong Kong is part of the People's Republic of China. You want us to emulate the People's Republic of China?
Well, I want us to emulate Macau and Hong Kong that are both going gangbusters in this economy.
Well, they have for a long time because they were basically ports. They were trade points. You can't have an entire nation be like that.
Here's where I get frustrated, Tom, because I think you and I agree on this, but you're not quite sure why we agree. Let me tell you why we agree. I can't stand Wall Street. I can't stand the bankers. I can't stand the robber barons, and we've got a lot of robber barons. I think Wall Street has raped our country. I think the bankers have raped our country. But you can't lump me as a small businessman that makes $250,000 to $500,000 a year running a small business or running a restaurant or a dry cleaner with Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Donald Trump. You got to stop doing that. The top 2% includes these robber barons on Wall Street that make $200 million a year in stock options alone, and probably another $15 million in salary, and hedge fund managers who make $50 and $100 million a year, and bank owners that have raped this country and this world and are raping Greece right now, and it matches them together because in the bottom of the top 2% are all the guys who own dry cleaners, restaurants, and a small real estate office that make $500,000 a year with 50 employees.
Sure. So Wayne, why don't you join me?
Be a small businessman.
Why don't you join me in calling for a repeal of the Reagan tax cuts? Because when Reagan cut that tax rate from 74% down to 28%, the only people who were paying that 74% were people who were making more than about $3 million a year in today's dollars.
Well, listen, one thing I would say is I am for flat taxes. You're never going to get me to get off that, or a national sales tax. You really want
Wait a minute. You want these guys to stop raping America Make it unprofitable for them. Make it so that if they engage in this kind of practice, they don't get to keep the money. And that's why you didn't have people raping America in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, because there was no money in it.
That's not the way to stop it. It's you ban bailouts. You ban payouts.
They didn't rape us with a bailout. They raped us long before the bailout.
You ban corporate welfare, which has been going on for 100 years, and it's raped the country. But you don't take away people's money.
We should stop, by the way, Wayne, as two guys here, we should stop using the rape metaphor. It's a lousy one.
All right, so it fleeces the country.
They're robbing. I mean, they're robbing us blind.
They are. Wall Street's robbing us blind, but it's not because their tax rates are low. It's simply because if they succeed, you let them keep their money, and if they fail, you hand it to the American taxpayer. That is a fleecing of my children, my grandchildren, and you and me, Tom.
Well, this is one of those areas, Wayne, where you and I agree, and that is that there shouldn't have been a bailout for the big banks. They should have been allowed to fail.
Right.
And it's pretty straightforward. And in fact, they should have been broken up into 1,000 pieces, and we could have competition again in the banking sector. And they should have been re-regulated. We should have brought back Glass-Steagall and said, you have to choose. You can either be a gambling enterprise, an investment bank, or you can be a commercial bank, where people have checking accounts and savings accounts. Okay. But you can't take people's checking accounts and savings accounts and gamble that money on Wall Street. You can't do it.
By the way, if you think you're talking to a libertarian who doesn't believe in any government regulation, you're wrong, because I agree with you.
Okay, so here's the question then, Wayne. How do we cut through?
Get together in this. That's fine.
How do we cut through the insanity in both the Republican and Democratic parties that support maintaining the status quo?
Third-party candidate. That's the only way to cut through the insanity. You'll never get there without electing a third-party candidate, because the Republicans and Democrats are too beholden. I explained this to my daughter.
When was the last time, Wayne, that a third-party candidate was elected in the United States?
Well, I'll tell you what. My parents were two of the founders of the New York State Conservative Party. And in 1971, they elected James Buckley, U.S. Senate in liberal New York, as a conservative.
Bernie Sanders is in the U.S. Senate right now. But when was the last time a president was elected as an independent?
Well, let's see. Teddy Roosevelt came close. Ross Perot had his moments. The last time must have been well before that. Must have been in the 19th century, I would guess.
I don't think it. I'd have to go back and look at my American history, but I think that other than when parties were collapsing, when the Federalists collapsed and when the Whigs collapsed, I don't think it's ever happened.
But I mean, areas where you and I agree is you can't let the banks be handed billions or trillions. You can't let the Wall Street companies just go to the Fed window, the Treasury window, and borrow money at 0% interest. This is insanity.
So given the fact that third-party candidates have never succeeded and they've only muddied the waters, how can you convince the Republican Party and I can convince the Democratic Party at the institutional level that what they're pursuing is economic insanity by supporting the banksters?
Well, the only thing I could tell you is we had Bush for 4 years, and I'm with you. It was a disaster. We have Obama for 2.5 years, and I guess I'm not with you. It's a worse disaster. It doesn't.
Well, Obama stopped the bleeding.
Presidents that have caused this, Tom.
Wayne, you have to acknowledge that Obama stopped the bleeding. We were losing jobs at the rate of 800,000 jobs a month when Obama came into office.
Tom, stop the bleeding. This is the worst real estate collapse in the history of America.
Right, and it started in 2006.
It started there, but it's gotten worse. The bleeding is worse. It's not better. Where's the tourniquet? My home in Las Vegas has lost 70% of its value. There is no tourniquet. It's getting worse. The decline is actually accelerating.
Yep.
So those
No, I agree with you. The fundamentals have not been fixed. And that's why I think that we're in for not just a double dip, but for a major depression. Yeah, okay.
We're in one now.
Amazing. Yes, we are. You're absolutely right. Wayne Root, rootforamerica.com. You're absolutely right. We are in a depression for everybody except the banksters.